let's just get into it. Thank you both so much for being here. So the first question I wanted to get from you, and as we see the headlines going on in Haiti and the instability and the crisis, and I know we have this dichotomy where people like to say, Port-au-Prince is in Haiti, and like, but as you both know, as living in Haiti, what happens in Port-au-Prince eventually does impact the entire country. So I would really love to understand, and I bet other people would also love to understand, is how are you still able to operate? Are there any adaptive strategies that you've had to take, understanding that you're mostly in the countryside, but of course you have some operations in the capital. So we would just love to hear a little bit more about that. What has become difficult? What are things that you've been able to manage to do to operate both of your institutions?
Okay. Carine, you want to start?
Yeah, nice and easy question to start, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an easy one, but and
No, it's yeah.
And a lot of aspects to it. I think
Yeah, exactly.
exactly. So,
there's
but
two things that are actually part of Fonkoze's DNA and that I think make it a bit, I won't say easier, but easier for Fonkoze than others. The first thing is that we have always valued proximity. We live and work close to the people we serve. So our operational models are not based on traveling up and down too much to the country of some other organizations. And that, of course, helps a lot. We work with local staff who are living in the communities we serve as much as possible and who don't necessarily need to travel far away, which is really complicated these days. That's one thing. The other thing is that we've always had very decentralized decision-making. I remember after the earthquake in 2010, the branches kept providing services to the clients because the branch directors had the leeway to make that decision. And it's the same now. That when Mirebalais was attacked the other day, the people in the field in Mirebalais made the decision as to how to reorganize the staff, evacuate, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that definitely makes it maybe a bit easier to adapt for Fonkoze than for others. I think the other thing that is very, very much helping us is technology. I don't know for you, Dominique, but I don't think the foundation would be able to operate if it wasn't for internet, essentially. Because we can't travel up and down, supervision happens a lot through Zooms. We work a lot with WhatsApp groups. We use email, we use electronic signatures. We have a complete electronic payment system. That's really very important. Today, if we lose access to internet, it's going to become really, really complicated. And the last thing is that we actually started setting up regional offices 3 years ago. And those really help. Because, just for an example, when you have expenses, you need the documentation to show that you actually spend it the right way. But that documentation, the expenditures are in the field. The documentation used to be brought easily to Port-au-Prince. That's not possible anymore. So we need regional officers that actually receive the documentation, scan it, input it in the accounting system, and then send it by the scanned copies instead of the physical copies. So it's that kind of adaptations for the foundation. I don't know for you.
Yeah, just to echo what you say, Carine, it's really our deep root commitment and the way that we can adapt ourselves, in the field. That's, that's help us, to continue, providing the service. And also, the trust, because we were always there. And I always say to everybody, even though that we have our headquarters in Port-au-Prince, but our main operation was never Port-au-Prince. And so that's help us, continue providing the services to our clients. So And also, the thing that, the resilience that, even, for our clients, for our employees, that, it's, we've been able, to adapt ourselves in order for us to continue providing service. One of the things that, we have a lot of branches throughout the country. Our services is not only at the branches, because we have what we call our centers, where we have close to 1,000, I could say 300 centers throughout the country, and sometimes they are at 2 hours from the office. So again, with those community that we're working, that's why when I'm saying, when, just to echo what Carine said, we are really, deep root implemented in the community. So again, in terms of decision making, we have to give, our branch manager, that opportunity, to make decision. And they are the one on the field. They are the one that can let us know that, let's, for example, today, can we work? Yes. Can we not work? That's the decisions, the decision making. It has to be, you have to decentralize the decision making if you have to work, continue providing the services. And in terms of also, technology, we have to adapt ourselves also for technology. The best investment that we made, it's around 3-4 years ago, where we provide a laptop to our branch manager. And also, we make sure, because even our a internet service provider were not able to provide us, the internet. So now we have to find alternatives. So this is why we have to end up having a satellites for our branches to function. So with that, that help us, continue, having that I would say, the support to continue providing the services to our clients. And remember, in some places, we are the only financial institutions in those areas. So the fact that we are the only financial institution in that area, so that's mean, we have to continue, maintain, the services. So
Okay. Thank you both. So it sounds like, I think when people say decentralization, they might think just decentralization of like the buildings, like your
nah,
buildings are decentralized,
exactly.
but your entire process is decentralized.
Exactly.
So people
Exactly.
can make decisions on their own. You trust your staff. You've built up the staff and
Exactly.
capacity. They're running their operations on their own. So they're very flexible. Yeah. And I
Exactly.
think that's probably the difference between a lot of other institutions that operate in Haiti, where sometimes the decisions aren't even being made in Haiti. They're being made in Europe or in the US or in Canada.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And so I'm going to pivot a little bit, and as I think we've talked really well about what the decentralization looks like and how you're able to implement it. And let's talk to the people who are like somebody sitting in New York or Miami, and like at this point, like we're all over the place now in the last few years, like somebody in South America who are thinking, is this a good time to give to Haiti? It feels like maybe my money won't properly be used. What can we tell them? Why is it important to support Fonkoze's work, especially right now, despite the risk and the challenges that are being faced?
Dominique, your turn this time.
Well, Carine, as you know, I am a for-profit organization. But anyway,
But I think that's important to talk about that. Should we pause and just talk about how the two institutions work together? So
Yeah.
like you have the for-profit end that is functioning as a business and is profitable and it's meeting its needs and its demands. And then you have the Fonkoze Foundation that complement it. Should we give like a couple of minutes to that so people can understand how that works?
I think, this is exactly the right time to give. But I think, we should, people sitting in New York or Montreal or wherever that person is there. I think personally, I think it's just it's the time to give, because when you have a system that is not working anymore, and and particularly, when you look at it, everything, it's almost like, we're losing all the support from everybody.
Mm.
But life goes on. People, lives goes on. People need to have the support of the, because as an institution, particularly me as a financial institution, so I have to continue to survive, and I need people to continue to survive. So for people that, making the effort to send their kids to school, to, like, continue, survive. And I think, the help that Fonkoze bring to them, it's some hope. And what the foundation is doing, and I could tell the support that they used to provide to my clients. And I feel it, particularly, even though, like I said, that, I'm more for-profit organization, but when I'm looking, the support that they used to provide to our clients living in those deep rural area, where right now it seems like, for them there is no hope. And I think, that we should continue,
Yeah.
looking for support. I think it's the right time.
Mhm. Also, the need is huge, but that's what
Yeah.
you hear in the news, right? Over 1 million people displaced, over 5 million people in food insecurity. The need is really huge. But what you don't see in the news is the incredible courage of the people. They continue to look for opportunities, entire markets. You should see entire markets that were happening downtown in Port-au-Prince. The area has been overrun. The market just moved. People look
Yeah.
for other places to sell. People, over 80% of the people who are displaced actually live with host families. It's not like they all huddled in camps and are waiting for humanitarian aid. Not at all. Most of them have been welcomed by friends, by families, and all of them struggle together to find opportunities. And I think that's one of the things with Fonkoze is that we have models that work. Both the graduation program, the training programs, the microfinance products help people, and we know they work. And so giving these courageous people a little push so that their efforts can actually be more effective, get to more results, I think it definitely is the right time to do so. The other thing is, I think, honestly, the foundation could not do what it is doing without a collaboration with SFF. Like the other day, we lost access to the branch in Mirebalais, and we need cash. We need cash to organize trainings, to give people cash transfers so they can start economic activities. We need cash. So having access to SFF and all the to Fonkoze Financial Services and all their branches really makes it possible for us to do what we're doing. So that's also one of the reasons why Fonkoze is probably, it's easier for us to be a bit more effective because that infrastructure is already there.
Yeah. I think you both hit the nail on the head. It's the reason why it's a good time to give is because it's needed. And the reason why it's a good time to give to you specifically is because you know what you're doing. And you've proved that over 30 years. And you have these two institutions that have different models already from what exists in Haiti, but they're differently together. And so they create something that is unique and efficient and effective and mindful of what it's like to work in Haiti because you were decentralized well before all this happened, when it should have been the norm and it wasn't. And then it just continued to be something that you're able to mine for its efficiency. Um, so I'm gonna move and actually I wanted to ask, can you hear the sirens outside? Is that coming up
No.
in okay, good. Because I was gonna change my I was gonna put headphones on. Okay, good. Yeah, I live right across the street from Cataldo, which is like an ambulance center.
Uh-huh.
And I forgot to put my headphones on before this call. Okay, so I liked that we started talking a little bit about how people are adapting. And particularly as somebody who's from the diaspora, it's sometimes really hard for me to constantly hear how resilient Haitians are because like I really want nothing more than to stop hearing about how resilient Haitian people are. I want people to like get a break. But the reality is that Haitian people are incredibly resilient, and this is why we're still here. And so you gave the example about the markets and how people are just able to like lift up these, and for people who don't know, like these humongous markets. I don't know how many acres they are, but they're huge. They're able to lift them and move them up to different places. Is there any other examples that you've witnessed over the last month that really speaks to the reality of like the wash, rinse, repeat that Haitian people are somehow able to still do hundreds of years later?
Even though that you see all the blockage that we have, accessing the market in Port-au-Prince and, like what's going on in Kinskoff and all that. And, you still, these people still find a way, to bring their merchandise to the marketplace. And I'm looking at, sometimes I'm going looking at those young kids still going to school,
Yeah,
despite, all the insecurity that you see in Port-au-Prince and all that. So they're
Yeah.
showing up at school. And even, my or employees, or team or employees, I saw sometimes, I see them still moving with courage and show up at the office. And, last night I have employees who sleep outside. They didn't even reach home. And after that, they learned that they burned their homes. And they're still showing up the next day at the office. And same, I'm looking at what's going on in Mille Valley.
mm,
And, our clients still showing up at other branches saying that, this is what happened to my business, but I'm going to find another way. That's something, even myself, I see, those people moving. It's not because they are not afraid,
yeah,
but i- that's they know that it's matter for them, or employees, it's matter for them to be at the office, and or at the centers. So all those things, it's that perseverance, and sometimes even ourselves, we're asking ourselves, where they find that courage, to continue. And that's, it moved me a lot, when you look at, of what's going on. So that's for me, as someone living there and working there. And sometimes, I feel like, my God, how these people, can find a way to still move forward. So it's, I agree with you when we're talking about resilience. Sometimes, and I went to a lot of meetings with a lot of partners and everything. And sometimes, I'm, I'm tired,
yeah,
to hear that, we are resilient and all that. But at the same time, also, you asking yourself, you know, if they don't do that,
yeah,
because who's going to do it for them?
yeah.
They
I was gonna
have
say,
to continue moving forward. So that's, it's very difficult.
Yeah,
So
that's it. It's day-to-day stuff. It's
yeah,
just continue moving, and also continue finding ways to laugh, to get together with a couple of friends for a beer, to organize first communion little party because your kids kind of got to that milestone. All of
yeah,
these things continue. They're not as grand as they used to be, and they're not as there's definitely not as much food and as much drink as what used to be, but they still do it,
yeah,
they still go to mass every Sunday morning, and they dress up to do so, and they find courage in neighbors and getting together and friends. And so yeah, it's really quite amazing. I would almost call it really courage instead of resilience.
Me
Oh,
too. Courage, perseverance, you
yeah.
know, and you see, you know, people try to rebuild the business, even though what happened, and you see, you know, they start to see, you know, what next, what I'm going to do next.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's
It's
something.
And in a
perseverance.
way, it's the same thing we saw after the earthquake. I don't
Yeah.
know if you, but it's also, you know, the informal businesses, the small businesses, they're much easier to pivot, to turn around than bigger businesses where you need an initial investment.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you lose that investment, starting up again is really complicated.
It's more complicated, yeah.
So that's also maybe the people we work with typically are smaller, informal businesses. And honestly, they're much more agile than these bigger things.
Yeah. Even though lately, Carine, you know, that impact them a lot of, you know, the fact, you know, Port-au-Prince was a big hub for them.
Yeah.
And this is where, you know, they change, you know, like a food against, you know, other things. And but lately, you know, you can see the impact because it's not only Port-au-Prince. The other thing that also that it's because now it starts spreading, you know, beyond Port-au-Prince. So and it's you know the transportation it's becoming more and more difficult for them, and you can see the impact. And so and it's become very expensive also for them also to in terms of transportations and all that. So that, you know, it had lately, you know, had a big impact in those clients also. But like Karen said, they always try to find another way, you know, to adapt, to do something else. And so and
Mm.
they
That's
still
really,
continue persevering.
yeah, perseverance and the joy
Yeah,
of resistance
yeah.
too. So we have 2 minutes left, and so I think if both of you in 30 seconds can say one thing that brings you joy and hope, not joy, I'm sorry, hope in that for what's coming, or hope to see that there's possibility for change.
Yeah, I would say, you know, as long as there is life, there is hope. And we will continue, you know, working and supporting because, you know, it's real, it's every day. So that's like I said, you know, that's make me move, you know, the way I see, you know, people, despite of what's going on, they still have hopes that, you know, tomorrow is going to be better. And so I think we should be there to support them and to continue as long as we can to provide them, you know, the support that we can provide them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's people's courage and the fact that they can do it, why can't I? You know, we all move together. And also the fact that people are coming together these days in ways they weren't before. You have collaborations across social divides that you didn't necessarily see before. And that's something that actually gives me a lot of hope too.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, well, thank you both. We're right at 11, and so I guess we'll cut it off here.
Thank you very